doesn't matter where you came from, who believed in you and who didn't. This is our time, this is our chance to make a difference.
Hello world, it's Gojo4 with you, the greatest Jaeger pilot ever. You guys like Jaegers? You like killing kaiju? You like saving the world from the precursors? Join the join the PPCD today. Join the PPDC today, Pacific Defense Corps. When the first Pacific Rim came out in 2013, it was kind of a hallmark for us giant monster fans. I think the last time such a monster movie of such a scale came out, you could compare it to, was Cloverfield. But Cloverfield was a very different kind of monster movie. 1 year later, the new Godzilla movie was supposed to come out. So it was kind of like our big appetizer, our big introduction into the new era of giant monster movies. It was good, entertaining, giant monster movie fun. I think that's what it was. And for many of us, that was satisfying. I think, after Godzilla came out, after Shin Godzilla came out, after Kong Skull Island came out, and the new growing Monsterverse, I think interest in Pacific Rim kind of waned a little bit. Now Pacific Rim Uprising has finally come out. Here's the question. Are people still interested? Am I still interested? Does it live up to the hype of or at least the energy and the magic of the first movie? Well, I will let you guys know in my review of Pacific Rim Uprising.
2, 1.
So the film begins with John Boyega's character, Jake Pentecost, who was also the son of Stacker Pentecost from the very first film, Idris Elba's character. And he is a scrapper in this beach town that's got the remains of Jaegers. He's trying to get these parts for a smuggler, and then a girl steals the part he needs, and so he chases after her. And finding her, she finds out that she's rebuilt an entire Jaeger from all the Jaeger parts, and her name is Amara. And then they escape with their Jaeger, and then they get caught by the Pacific Defense Corps, and both get thrown in jail. So Mako, who, as you remember, was also kind of Idris Elba Stacker's daughter in many ways, shows up. So she is Jake's sister, and she gives him a choice. He can either go to jail or go back into the Ranger program that he actually used to be a part of and train new cadets and recruits like Amara, which they've also picked her. So they get taken to an island in China where they have a new Shatter Dome built and they're training new cadets. So Amara has to settle in with the other cadets while Jake himself has to deal with his old Ranger co-pilot. Meanwhile, Newt is working with a Chinese company to build new drone remote-controlled Jaegers, essentially. The Pacific Defense Corps has a meeting in Sydney, and this is a big vote with the Security Council to decide the approval of the drone Jaeger program. Mako, who has a high clearance on the Security Council, says she will vote against it, and she tells Jake. So she flies in to the meeting. Meanwhile, Jake and his old co-pilot show up in Gypsy Avenger just as a ceremonial security. As the meeting happens, a rogue Jaeger shows up coming out of the ocean and attacks the building. And in the process, Mako's helicopter gets shot down and she dies. And the rogue Jaeger escapes into the ocean. Now, before she died, Mako was able to send off a message of a symbol, essentially, leading them to a old Jaeger production facility in Siberia. As well, at the same time, because of this attack, the Security Council immediately approves the drone-piloted Jaegers and has them put immediately into production. Meanwhile, Jake and his co-pilot head off to Siberia to find out what this facility has in store. And they're investigating the scene when all of a sudden they are attacked by the rogue Jaeger, which actually destroys the facility. They're able to defeat the rogue Jaeger. When they rip off its head, they're expecting to confront some pilots, and instead are horrified to find it's actually being controlled by a modified kaiju brain that's actually been specifically genetically created to pilot this rogue Jaeger. At the same time, the new drone Jaegers have arrived from production, and they suddenly start acting a little weird. Turns out they're becoming like weird Jaeger kaiju hybrids, and they start attacking all the Shatter Domes across the Pacific. And Newt, it turns out, was the one who actually did this on purpose, and he's actually been corrupted by the precursors. He's intentionally created these kaiju Jaeger hybrid drones to open new breaches that will let in new kaiju. They start building breaches, like the original film, all over the Pacific to let in kaiju. They're able to stop Newt's drones. However, 3 are still able to break through. They realize they're heading towards Mount Fuji in Japan, and they realize that they're going to ignite Mount Fuji in a reaction which will cause all the volcanoes in the Pacific Rim of volcanoes to explode. The survivors from the drone attack are put together into a team, and the cadets are included as well. And they're able to use new rockets that they've built, and they're going to use these rockets attached to the Jaegers to fly to Tokyo, where the kaiju are landing. So they get to Tokyo, and they have, of course, this massive battle against the 3 remaining kaiju. Then Newt manages to interfere, and using some of these special drone robots, he's able to force the kaiju to mutate and evolve into one giant kaiju, which is able to defeat the Jaegers and head off towards Mount Fuji. Now, Jake and Amaria are the only ones left who can pilot Gypsy Avenger, so they manage to get Gypsy Avenger, and they attach a rocket to its hand and fly it up, and then they basically make a massive suicide bomb. In the massive speed Gypsy Avenger hits the kaiju, it's able to kill it before it can blow up Mount Fuji. Of course, Newt gets captured and taken into the custody by the Pacific Defense Corps. Newt is seen being interrogated, and Jake walks in, and Newt says that the precursors are going to come back. There's no way to stop them. And Jake says that they're not going to wait for the precursors. They're going to take the fight to them, of course, which means hinting that there will be some kind of attempt to go to the precursor world in the sequel. So let's just, of course, agree that this is a giant monster mech movie, right? This is not supposed to be an Oscar-worthy film. But however, this film does have quite a few problems, in my opinion. The characters in this film really fall very flat. They're just not very interesting to me. John Boyega's character, Jake, is a weird mix of Han Solo and Rey, and he's got daddy problems as well. He has some witty lines at times, but he ends up really just being just a generic soldier hero character. Amara and the rest of the cadets just end up feeling like kids in the academy type of plot, where there's some friction between them, and then at the end they're all friends with each other and they fight together, and it's very much, okay, I've seen this a million times. Another character was Nate, Jake's co-pilot, who is probably the most generic soldier character ever, and he's supposed to have like a rift issue. There's a rift between him and Jake because they used to have a bond or something like that, but you don't really feel it at all. Newt was interesting only because the plot twist of him being the villain. But however, he's still Newt. He's still the character of Newt. He's just being brainwashed by the precursors. So he still acts the same way, and it's really hard to take him seriously as a villain. His former partner, Herman, is there as a nice contrast to him, kind of like in the first film. And of course, here he has to kind of stop him, his old friend. And so there's that nice play on that. But at the same time, of course, Herman is also just there. But the story itself also has a lot of problems. It just feels like it's supposed to be a monster mech movie, but they make it kind of convoluted, and they're trying to make this mysterious thing of like what's going on, but it ends up being kind of like too confusing with the drones that are actually secretly hybrids, and then the rogue Jaeger that's actually being piloted, and then all this stuff, and I'm just like, I'm just here to watch kaiju and robots fight. And yet the kaiju, of course, don't show up until the very end of the movie. So I liked the rogue Jaeger, I liked the kaiju Jaeger hybrids. I thought that was interesting, right? It does make it new. However, as soon as the breach is opened by the robot hybrids, they just forget about the drones. The drones and the rogue Jaeger disappear from the rest of the movie. So that whole concept was just an excuse to get the kaiju back in this film. Then the dialogue, of course, is kind of garbage. And not like the first film won any awards for that, but here it was really bad. And it made conversations just laughable. The film tries a lot of jokes. Like a lot of jokes, and they're just very awkward. And there were times where like, oh, is that supposed to be funny? And of course, this film, I'll give you, is entertaining. In the action scenes especially. They're nice, fun, and the visual effects are really good, actually. I was quite impressed by the visual effects in this film. The music itself for the scenes was good. You know, they do bring back in the theme from the first film. But I feel like in general the music was good, but it didn't stand out. And then for the creatures and the creature designs, and I guess it's a monster movie, we got to talk about that, and the Jaegers too. I mean, they didn't stray too far from the aesthetic that they had in the first film with how the kaiju look, which makes sense. They should look similar. But I definitely feel like the kaiju themselves didn't have the personality. The Jaegers themselves are unique, and they still feel like the aesthetic of the original film. Drone Jaeger hybrids when they were kaiju was really cool. That was unique. The rogue Jaeger was kind of It just kind of looked like a knockoff Gypsy Avenger. I think this film had a few things I had to critique, but it still has some good parts to it that are entertaining.
You're looking for some kaiju bone powder.
Some bone? Some bone powder?
So with Pacific Rim Uprising, it seems like they took the first Pacific Rim and removed everything that was good about it and only left the problems. And that is, of course, the dialogue, the generic characters. With this film, we have an entertaining mech monster movie. I'll give you that. It is entertaining, but it just feels so bland. And Pacific Rim, the first film, had a magic to it, had a quality to it that really made it stand out. And like with an era of Shin Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, we've got Godzilla 2 coming out, Godzilla vs. Kong. I feel like Pacific Rim Uprising is kind of, in comparison, it's just kind of just another monster movie. Now, however, this is a fun movie. It's entertaining. However, I do hope that the sequel is them going to the precursor homeworld and it's just action for 2 hours. Because honestly, they could pull off the action. So they really just need to focus on that instead of trying to make more complicated plot outlines and introduce characters that we don't really care about. It's just make it action. Make it robot mechs fighting kaiju for 2 hours on an alien planet. If the third film gets made and it's successful enough, there are rumors that they want to do a bigger Pacific Rim universe. I could see them probably making a TV series or something like that based off this, or spin-off films or things like that. Of course, they have to do a cinematic universe for everything now. This has been my review of Pacific Rim Uprising. What do you guys think? You guys think I'm full of crap? Or you somewhat agree with me? Or did you love the film? Let me know in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys want to see more content like this, feel free to subscribe, like, and share. And also, if you guys want to, check out the link to my Patreon below as well. Alright guys, hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys soon in the next video. Bye!
If you're listening to this, well, I'm either alive and I've proven what I've just done works, in which case, I won, or I'm dead.